Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm joined with Dan to talk about North London Derby, how things are going at Arsenal. And yeah, thank you so much, Dan, for joining me. How are you doing?
Good, darling. Listen, thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure when you reached out, and I said, you know what, I'm more than happy to come and talk football. I always try and come on channels if I can, and always happy to talk Arsenal. So I'm a bit nervous, so if I'm not going to lie, because of this game, and I get the butterflies a few days before, and we're getting closer and closer now, and it's not getting any easier. But I'm doing good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Honestly, I can't stop thinking about the match. I think the North London Derby, I think there's not been a bigger one like for a long time because we could get Champions League football, so hope so. I did want to start off with talking about the Leeds match because obviously, Arsenal won 4 wins on the bounce and things are going quite good at the moment. So, what were your kind of thoughts on that match and just how things are going at the moment?
I was really impressed with the first half against Leeds. I can't lie. I was really impressed with a few particular performances. I thought Martinelli was sharp. I thought he was on fire. I thought he was taking the mick out of the Leeds fullbacks, if I'm honest with you. But when I looked at Eddie getting into this team in the last few games, I questioned it. And you know my thoughts on Eddie and Nketiah moving forward. But actually, he stepped up to the plate and he's done what Lacazette couldn't do. And again, he got a couple of really decent goals. And I was pleased for him, not for the fact that he's winning games for Arsenal at the moment and he's scoring goals for Arsenal at the moment, but more importantly, against Leeds, that was a team that didn't really give him the chance that I thought he deserved when he went on loan. So to actually get that chance and to score against them, obviously was great to see. But in the second half, I think the sending off actually made things a lot harder for Arsenal going into that second half, because sometimes against 10 men, all they can do is shut up shop and play with 10 men, defend, park the bus. And I think that's what Leeds were trying to do, albeit they had a couple of really good chances to cause us some issues towards the end. So I think it was probably a nervous 10-15 minutes at the end where I don't think it needed to be. However, having said that, I think the performance was there or thereabouts for us to suggest that perhaps we weren't or didn't need to be as nervous as some of us were in the stadium, because I was obviously at the game and there was a few nervous butterflies and the jiggers around. Oh, I tell you what, this is going to be a real difficult last few minutes when corners were flying in, keepers were going up. But actually, when you look at the performance, Soph, it got to a stage for me where we were seeing performances again from some of our squad players. Rob Holding, one to be proud of. El Neni doing really well at the moment in the middle with Granit Xhaka. And of course, I've mentioned Eddie. And I think most people probably looked at Partey's injury, Tierney's injury, and the situation with no forward in January as, wow, that could cost us top four. But to be fair to the manager and of course the players, they've stepped up to the plate and got us another vital 3 points against Leeds. So we now go into the North London Derby with a little bit of momentum and confidence. So it's a good performance overall.
Yeah, I think so. I think as well it's about getting the results as well because all we want is top four. It doesn't really matter how we do it. I did want to ask about El Neni and Eddie Nketiah. I think now they've got like game time. I think they needed like a consistent run of games. Do you kind of think they should extend their contracts, or do you kind of just think they're just what we can use for now till like Partey gets back and until we get a striker?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I think we need them for now. I think they're squad players. And if they want to remain squad players, I don't really think I'm going to lose much sleep if they do sign a new extension. If they're going to sign a new extension, however, and be part of the first team, I would have an issue with that. So if El Neni stays, I'm cool with him being a squad player. And you know what? I like El Neni because he's an honest player. He's never come and tried to be someone he isn't. He hasn't sat there and said, listen, I'm Santi Cazorla and I should be starting every game. He's came as a £7 million player. And I think we've got £7 million worth out of him in the last 5 or 6 years. So for me, he's a squad player that's happy to be a squad player. And it looks to me as if there were strong rumours that he's signing a new deal. So I'd be happy with El Neni in the squad as long as we get a couple of upgrades in the summer in the same position. As for Eddie Nketiah, I think it really depends if he wants to play first team football. If Eddie wants to play first team football, it isn't going to be at Arsenal, unfortunately for him. So he's going to have to go to a lower division club or somebody in the Premier League that's either just been promoted or is in and around that mid-table or relegation battle, because that's where I believe his level of quality is. Now, he's done very well, and I don't think that he'd be someone that I'd go absolutely devastated about if he does sign a new contract. But as long as we get a couple of midfielders and a couple of strikers in as well as El Neni and Eddie, then I don't really care if they're signing and want to be around the squad, because next season we're going to be in Europe of some sort. Let's hope it's the Champions League, but it might be Europa League. So we're going to be playing 4 competitions next season. So we do need a squad. So I'd be more than happy if Holding, El Neni and Nketiah are around the squad still. but I don't want to be seeing them playing the first team games because I believe that we can do better and upgrade.
Yeah, I think so. I think Eddie would probably want a consistent run of games, and I think we probably know he's not going to take us on to that next level. But I agree. I think I wouldn't be like devastated if he stayed on. I do think he's good. I think he's showing his quality, and I think with El Neni as well. I think that, as you said, he's not someone that brags about things. He just gets on with it. He doesn't really compare himself to anyone. I think he just loves to play for Arsenal. So yeah, hopefully we'll just have to see what happens. But now, talk about the big game tomorrow. How are you like feeling? It's probably one of our biggest games against them in a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And for me, people are saying it's the biggest North London derby. I would disagree. I think we've had bigger. I think the 18 years ago we went to their ground and won the league there, so that was bigger for me. I think the season with the Lasagna Gate, I think there was a massive game at Highbury where it was important to go into that game. And to be fair, against when the season that Leicester won the league, 15-16. We had a brilliant game against them then because we had to win because we were going for a title that season, believe it or not. So I think there's been bigger. However, I think when you look at what this means for the football club right now in terms of our league positions and where we are as football clubs, I think top four is massive for Antonio Conte and Spurs, and it's probably even bigger for Mikel Arteta and Arsenal if we want to push on. So I think it is a huge game. If we do win this fixture, then everything else is done and dusted, and it doesn't matter what happens at Newcastle and Everton. Albeit, I still want to beat them. It won't be as much pressure going into those games. If we do draw it, or God forbid lose it, then of course there's going to be huge pressure going into Newcastle and Everton. So this one's huge, and I can see why it's huge. I do believe that we're going to see a battle that is probably going to cancel each other out. My prediction is going to be that this one's going to be a score draw, but I do feel that if we get into this game, the first goal is massive. So absolutely massive. Tottenham get one goal is going to be really difficult for us. And if Arsenal get that goal, we might be able to put a little bit of nerves into how they might have to change their system. So first goal is massive for me.
Yeah, do you think, I know we know how good Kane and Son is, and we don't know if Ben White will be back yet. Do you think that, I think we've been doing different positions, obviously, Tomiyasu and Cedric, but do you think that maybe Gabriel and Holden, if they're playing, they've been very good recently. Do you think they could kind of deal with how good Kane and Son, because, they've just drew to Liverpool, and that really is a big result. I mean, I know it helped us a little bit, but do you think that we could kind of stop them a bit? Because, they are good, even though I hate to say that.
Oh, listen, they're class. They are world class, and I feel like Kane and Son are probably the two biggest dangers in the Premier League, not just for in Tottenham's team. When I look at what we need to do, obviously it's defend well, that goes without saying, but actually how we defend is going to be interesting because Gabriel against Kane, I think I fancy Gabriel to at least keep him quiet. Yeah, he might score. He's a great, great player, but I don't think it's going to be because Gabriel's weak. I think Gabriel's a good defender. For me, it's all about Son and Kulusevski within what Kane does. Kane can spray the ball about, but where's he spraying it to? Son and Kulusevski are going to be really dangerous, and it needs to be that our fullbacks are on point. Now, Tomiyasu is a little bit of a stroke of genius from Mikel Arteta playing him at left back. I think Cedric's come in and done a good job, to be fair, at right back, although I think long term we may need an upgrade. But when you look at Ben White, I think it's important that he's fit. But Tom Canton on the show last night at Lee Judges TV made a good point about perhaps playing Ben White at right back with Holding Gabriel and Tomiyasu so that we have literally four defenders across the back line to try and keep it tight. And that could be the case. But it's going to be interesting as to whether Ben White's fit or not. Kane and Son always score against Arsenal. They're both prolific. And I feel like if we are going to try and keep two players quiet, it would be them. But don't be fooled that Kulusevski will have a quiet game because he's come in this season 2022, himself and Bentancur have been two really good signings, two of the best players for Tottenham. And along with Romero, I think have probably added to Kane and Son in being the top five players in that side. So they're the ones that we're going to be causing threats, and they're the danger men for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think they have got a lot of good players, but I kind of see us more, we're better as a team, and we've shown that we can get those, like, we can fight for those wins in the end, even if it's not a pretty sight. But yeah, I think going to the game, do you think if you're Arteta, would you kind of change anything? Would you maybe bring Lacazette in for Eddie Nketiah, or would you change any of the team, or would you keep it how it's been going?
I think it would be foolish to change too much because it's been working. When we've got 4 wins on the bounce, it's the old saying, isn't it? Even when I played Sunday League, never change a winning side because, it's winning for a reason. Now, the only changes we've seen of late is good changes, and that's Tomiyasu coming back in, El Neni coming back in. But actually, when we look at what we need right now, I don't think there's much to change just for the pure fact that I feel like things can work against Tottenham with what we've already got. I don't see that, the back line is going to be completely swapped and changed around. Ramsdale will continue in goal. I believe, personally, the fullbacks will probably be Tomiyasu and Cedric, and then Ben White and Gabriel if Ben White's fit. I expect Holding to miss out on this one just for the pure fact that although he's quite good in big match games, I don't feel like he'll come in and Ben White will be risked at right back. When it comes to the centre of midfield, El Neni and Xhaka, I think will continue with Ødegaard in there, and I think Saka and Eddie will definitely play, and it's whether Martinelli or Smith Rowe comes in on that left-hand side. Because Smith Rowe, for me, is not as good defensively as Martinelli, but actually, as far as he's concerned, scored in a North London derby at the Emirates, and I think he's one of those players that everybody would like to see a lot more on the pitch. But as for Martinelli, coming off the back of a great performance against Leeds, it would be probably harsh to drop him. If it was me, and this is going to be extremely harsh, I would probably go with a front four of Martinelli, Ødegaard, Saka and Smith Rowe, which means Eddie would drop out. That would be extremely harsh, and the fact that he's been really good in the last 4 games. But I think as far as the North London derby is concerned, we need somebody very clinical, and I'm not so sure that some of the chances Eddie's had have actually been wasted. If you look at the chances he has scored, they've been great. But if you look at the missed opportunities he went through at Manchester United and hit it straight at De Gea, he went through at West Ham and missed the goal completely. He's hit the post once or twice when really he should have been burying it. So for me, although Martinelli has only actually got 1 goal, I think in the last 10 games, I do feel in front of goal in that centre forward position he probably would be better. But this is what I would do. That's not going to happen. It's going to be Mikel Arteta picking this team similarly to the one that played Leeds, and I don't expect to see any drastic changes so far, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Arteta would change anything. I don't think we do need to really. I think things are going good. I mean, obviously, if Ben White's back, he'll probably be playing. But and I think as well as Smith Rowe, I think when he comes on as a sub, he makes a better impact. And maybe I think Marcelli is probably better starting because, as you said, defensively, he does all the work. But I think I want to touch about our chances of top 4 because obviously that game does lie a lot on that. And if we lose, I think the gap between us and Spurs does close. So if we did lose this game, do you still see us getting top 4? I know I can't remember other games, but I know we've got Everton. And do you think it will be quite difficult? Because it is a kind of decider, isn't it? If we do lose, it's going to be more difficult to get top 4.
Yeah, the problem with us is if we lose this game, then the momentum's gone. And we're going into a difficult game away at Newcastle, who are a different Newcastle now, that actually have had a record which is quite surprising. And it's actually up there with Liverpool and City in terms of how many games they've won since 2022 and Eddie Howe coming in. That's going to be difficult. And then Everton are fighting for their lives, albeit we are at home. That's going to be very, very difficult as it stands. So we need to win on Thursday night to just secure that place, and then doesn't matter what happens. It would be nice to keep going, and then they may have a chance of third if Chelsea do slip up again. But personally, I'm not really focused on that. I just want to secure Champions League football and then worry about where we finish going into the summer recruitment, which again we can then push on to try and get ourselves ahead of that. Our chances of top 4 are massive because it's in our hands. Our chances of top 4 are huge because I believe we have to have something go drastically wrong for us not to get it now. My problem is we've seen things go drastically wrong with this Arsenal side of this season. So let's hope that all that is kind of ironed out and it's done and dusted now, and we don't get Southampton, Brighton and Palace repeats, and that we can go on a run now again for the next 3 games and just win the remaining games and secure that Champions League spot.
Yeah, it's hard because I think we're so up and down. I mean, I know it's a young team, but I just don't know what to expect. I mean, I think if we're playing Tottenham, I think our second half against Leeds, I mean, I know they had to come out better and they had to put a bit more of a fight up, but I guess I think if we play like that against Spurs, it'll be a difficult game. But I think it'll really hurt, won't it, if we lose top 4 to Spurs after being a game in, like after us having it in favour. But I want to touch on Arteta and the future because obviously he did sign a new deal. I want to know your thoughts on that and kind of, where do you want the club to go in the next few years, like with Arteta? Because I think he will be staying here for a while, won't he?
Yeah, he is going to stay here for a while. They've bought into this guy. The board and the ownership believe in him. And they've backed him, to be fair, in the summer, and there's rumours that they're going to back him again wherever we finish. I do feel that the target for them was top 6 and European football. That's what he's now achieved, so therefore he's been given the new long-term contract. You know from listening to me that I've had my doubts. I'm not being 100% convinced by what I'm seeing on the pitch from Mikel Arteta at times, and I do feel that in 2.5 years it's taken quite a long time to implement a style of play, to have a philosophy at the club. But there are also some positives, Soph, and I've been quite clear in that. I think off the field, there's been a lot of positives. I think he's cleared out the deadwood, removed some of the culture that I thought was quite poisonous within the dressing room. I do believe there's a connect with the fans, and there seems to be more of a telepathy with the coach, the manager, and the fans whenever we're going home and away to the grounds, playing week in, week out. So I think there needs to be a lot of positivity there. I do believe that defensively, albeit we've conceded more goals, funny enough, we do seem to be a little bit more balanced in some of the play that we have. And I do like the fact that some of the recruitment has been really quite good. I like the fact that Erdegaard's come in and proved me wrong, because when we had him on loan, I wasn't so sure he was going to be the player that everybody wanted him to be. This season, particularly in 2022, he's proved everybody wrong, because the people that doubted him, he's come out and made it quite clear that he's now going to be our kind of instrument in midfield and he's going to create. I think he's done well with Saka and Smith Rowe, and I do like what he's done with Martinelli of late, because it was a player that I question marked over. Maybe he doesn't quite rate him. Having said that, I do like some of the recruitment, but I do question some of the man management of Mikel Arteta. And I think because he's learning, I think he's got some of it wrong. I didn't like the way that he treated Nuno Tavares in a couple of those games by hooking him off. I don't believe Pepe's had a fair deal in comparison to some of the other players. And I do believe that some of the players that have left the club, like Aubameyang, like Guendouzi, like Maitland-Niles, perhaps we could have dealt with that a little bit better. Having said that, maybe in the dressing room, because I'm not there in training, they needed removing. So I do think that there's things he's got wrong. I do think it was a mistake not to strengthen in January. Having said that, if it doesn't cause us any issues for top 4, I have to applaud him and say fair play. What I do want to see him do now, though, so if he's push on, next season, if we can get Champions League, is go for as close as we can to the next level, which is Chelsea, Liverpool and City. I don't want to just be getting 4th this season, let's say. Hopefully we do. And then next season say, we just want to get 4th again. I want to be pushing and demanding the best each time. So if we're spending the $250 million, which we have already, we're going to be close to $1 billion by the time he's got this summer transfer out the way. That means we need to be going for a title soon. Not in 5 years, 6 years' time. Actually, we need to be going for a title soon. If you're going to give a manager nearly £1 billion to spend, you need to see some reward that's more than just scraping in the top 4. So that's where my ask is of Mikel Arteta in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I like to take things like game by game, but I think with the Champions League, I'm very curious to know, like, how far do you think we could go in that? I mean, I guess it all depends on what we do in the summer, but I guess maybe a lot of us might be worried about, you know, Wenger's last 2 years. It wasn't a pretty sight watching us getting thrashed by like Barcelona and Bayern Munich. So how do you kind of see us if we did get Champions League? Do you think we could go far, or do you think it's, because I know we would attract players, but it's kind of about winning. Football's about winning. So how do you kind of think we could do in the Champions League?
Well, if we keep this squad together, we're probably going to get dumped out in the group stages, if I'm honest with you, because
Yeah,
we
I
ain't good
agree.
enough. We're not good enough. We couldn't beat Olympiacos and Villarreal in the Europa League, so it doesn't look to me like we're going to get too far if we keep this squad together and go into the group stage of the Champions League. But if we get the summer recruitment right, and by that I mean another 6 to 8 players coming in like we did last summer,
Yeah.
then there's no reason why we can't have a squad that's good enough to at least compete with it. Now, I've seen teams so worse than Arsenal that have won this Champions League. You know, 2005, Liverpool won it, Porto won it in 2004, Chelsea won it in 2012 with Di Matteo and a poor side that I think come 8th that season. So when you look at who's won it in the past, yeah, anybody can win this damn competition because it's a cup competition, it's a knockout. But actually, when you look at who should win it on paper, it isn't Arsenal because we don't have the best squad. At the moment, we have probably 13 or 14 players. I think what we need to do is have 20 to 25 players. So that means we're going to have a lot more to have to come in the summer. As for the Premier League and all 4 competitions, I think it's going to be extremely difficult for Mikel Arteta to compete in all 4. But when you're in a cup competition, the first aim needs to be to win it, not just let's see how far we can get. Don't have a target of let's just reach the quarters or let's just reach the last 16. Let's try and win it. The league, we're not going to win. You know, we're not going to win the league next season. The title's crazy because Man City and Liverpool are 2 of the best players on the planet at the moment. 2 of the best teams on the planet, should I say. But actually, when you look at how close we can get to them, if we can get into a few games of winning, say 9 to 10 points, I'd say that's huge progress. Because only a 3 games away from actually competing in the league is a huge progression. But when you look at the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, we need to be aiming to win those. Because we've already won them before and with worse teams. As for the Champions League, we need to be going to all out to win it. I don't just want to be in it. I want to actually go and try and win it. So European football has been the only thing that I've never really seen us do so well in my footballing era. I've seen European games where we've won like Parma. I've seen us do well in the Champions League and get to finals and of course the Europa League. But it's not something I can say that I'm too proud of history-wise. So I need to look at that improving in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think with Liverpool and Man City, I think we've really struggled to get points off them. I mean, I think when we played Man City this year, I do think we were unlucky. I mean, I know some of that was our fault with the red card, but if we didn't get any points off Man City or Liverpool like next season, would you kind of not see that as progress? Because I think that's important, because I kind of think other teams like Tottenham can get points off. They can beat Man City and they can draw with them, and I feel like I want us to see us do that. So do you think next season we could do that?
It's not so much about if we beat them or lose to them. It's about how we perform against them. So if we lose to Liverpool, that can happen. They're a great side. And Man City. But I don't want to get battered like we have this season. We've lost 5-0 at the Etihad. We lost 4-0 at Anfield. We lost both games at home. And actually, the performance in one of those games was okay against Man City. But in the other 3, it was pretty shambolic in parts. What I would like to see is not just comparing us to Tottenham, let's try and get a draw. Actually give them a game, toe-to-toe. Now, we did that against Man City at home, to be fair. We played them at a nice time. They had a few injuries. They're a bit knackered. But actually, it doesn't matter because the team we played was still a class side. So we did well to compete there. But I need to see that consistently next season. Not just against Liverpool and Man City, but also against the Big Six, Chelsea's, United's, Tottenham's. Because they're all good sides on their day. Where I feel we need to iron out the cracks is where we're losing against teams that we really shouldn't be losing against.
Yeah.
When we're losing to Palace, Southampton, Brighton, Brentford, and we can't beat Burnley at home or Palace at home, and we go away to Brighton and draw, that for me is some bad results. I never leave there feeling, what a performance, they played well today. Because you can get that. We had it this season with Palace. We were never beating them. They were on fire. They played well. It was a hard place to go and it was a banana skin. And they've done well against Tottenham, Man City and Liverpool at that ground. So it was difficult. But when you go to Brighton and roll over like we did in Southampton, you can't take your chances. And we don't beat Burnley at home because we can't finish our dinner. That for me frustrates me. And that's what we need to iron out next season. So it's not so much Liverpool and City. It's the other results that I think we need to iron out below us.
Yeah, I do think we need to find more like consistency, because I do think, like, I know with a young team, a young manager, I think Arteta, we'll make mistakes along the way, and I think I would like us to get more like results and better performances from teams like Brighton. And I think we know it's not going to be perfect, and we won't always be 100% all the time. But I think I would just like us next season to see us perform well, because I know against Man City at the start of the season, I know it was a bit of a difficult time. We had players out and it was difficult, but I think losing 5-0 is like never okay. And I think next season, we all know that Man City have strengthened with Haaland and Liverpool, and they're all going to get better. So in the summer, I know Edu, I don't know if I believe this, that I think he said that he wanted about 2 big signings, and to me that feels ridiculous if we want to be better. So I guess, how many signings, or is there any players that you think could take us on to that next level?
I think there's a lot of players out there that can take us to the next level because we're not filled with quality. What I will say about Edu, and I believe he was probably meaning that he'd probably look to get 2 signings that he saw as elite and then potentially 3 or 4 squad players. That's what I think he probably means. The 2 positions, I hope he did. Yeah, exactly. The 2 positions I think are clear in the first 11 is a centre midfielder and a striker. I think that's quite clear. But actually we need more than that if we want to compete. So where I believe we should be looking at those positions, I think Yuri Tillemans would be a great signing from Leicester. I believe it's fairly realistic. I think he wants to leave Leicester and I think he wants Champions League football, so let's pray and hope we can get that. I believe that would be a good signing. I'm a huge fan of Ruben Neves and Basuma in the Premier League, and I think both of those would take us forward at upgrades. I don't mind Granit Xhaka's performances of late, but he's not a player that I look at as a future Arsenal star. So I believe that alongside Thomas Partey and Ødegaard, we need somebody like a Tielemans who can give that attacking 8 and play alongside them. When I look in centre forward, I look at this Darwin Núñez from Benfica and think he's everything we need in terms of an all-round number 9. I think he's banging in goals for Benfica. He's scoring in the Champions League against Premier League quality like Liverpool. And that's the type of player that I feel that we were looking at in January in Vlahovic. And that didn't work out, so we need to now look at that target man at number 9. Gabriel Jesus is another player that a lot of people are talking about at the moment, and it looks very likely that he's going to leave Man City. There's links, of course, with Arteta, and Arsenal are a team that really like him. I think that would be a good signing, but not the one that we need to take us to the next level. I think he would be a great player and probably give us a lot of work rate, energy, drive, a little bit of strength and some quality in a few positions. But for me, we need that target man number 9 as well as him. And that was why I'll be looking at a Darwin Núñez. And if that's unrealistic, as people may say, then look at somebody like Tammy Abraham over in Roma, who's absolutely banging them in at the moment. So I would be looking at those kind of players. As for the other positions, I do believe Pepe's time's done at Arsenal. I don't believe he's going to be given another contract, and he's only got a couple of years left. So we're going to look to try and sell him, I believe. And if Gabriel Jesus can play in that kind of wide position and cover him, then that may be fair play. But I do feel like we need somebody else there if we're going to get rid of him. So I'd be looking towards somebody like Serge Gnabry to return, if we can try and convince him that he's the guy to come back. Or Michael Elise from Palace is a player that has really impressed me this season and would be probably realistic and cheap. And obviously we've got that link with Patrick Vieira. And then I think the other two positions, Soph, that I would say are weak are fullback. Not in the first team because I love Kieran Tierney. He's one of my favourite players, and Tommy Yasu's been a revelation since we've signed him. But other than that, I don't know that Nuno Tavares and Cedric can take us to that next elite level. I would probably keep them in and around the squad, but I like the look of Jed Spence from Nottingham Forest, who's on loan from Middlesbrough, and I really like the sound of this Aaron Hickey Scottish lad from Bologna. So I'm looking at those two thinking perhaps they can come in as well. So we are looking potentially, Soph, at another 6 or 7 players, I think, here.
Yeah, I honestly think we need to buy a lot of players. I think obviously in January I would have liked us to maybe get a striker replace the Bangang, but I think since we didn't, I kind of let that slip a bit because things are going well. In the summer, I do believe we need to get like a lot of players. What are your kind of thoughts on Ivan Toney? Because for me, is that I've no doubt he is a good player, but I just think for me, like off the pitch, the way he disrespects Brentford, like if he was at Arsenal, I don't think I'd want someone like that. I mean, I know it might be a joke, but I mean, I don't think we want any more kind of like troublemakers or like players with like that sort of attitude. So what are your thoughts on him if we bought maybe him and Jesus? Do you think they could, take us on to that next level?
My thoughts are they're better than Eddie Nketiah and Lacazette, but my other thoughts are they're probably not the two players we need to take us to that elite level. Gabriel Jesus is scoring goals, but actually when you look at what he scored this season, it's not that much more than what we've got already in certain positions. I think he scored as many as Eddie and Laka, but that's actually only about 7 or 8. So I'm not so sure that he's the prolific striker we need, but he would be a good player. As for Ivan Toney, off the pitch, I don't know much about him. I've heard things like you that perhaps we would question. However, on the pitch, I actually quite like him. I think he's a target man. I think he's strong. He knows where the goal is. And I do believe that he's clinical. However, I'm not so sure like you that he would be the guy that we need taking us forward. I do question some of his interviews, attitude, and whether that would be something Arteta would like to buy into. And I don't think he's as young as you think. I think he's nearly touching kind of 26, 27. So he's not this young 21-year-old who's going to grow and develop. So he's kind of learned a lot of his personality traits are probably going to remain, and it might be hard to iron them out. So if he is going to be a problem around the dressing room, I'd probably rather leave him at Brentford or allow him to go somewhere else if he feels like he can do a better job. But actually, Brentford kind of suits him at the moment. So not two signings that would overwhelm me, but certainly not bad signings.
Yeah, I agree. I do think he is a good player, but I think we're probably more likely to get Jesus. I did want to touch on Saliba. I know he's been. I do feel like he should have got a chance, and unfortunately, he never got that. I guess, do you think he should come back? I guess, where do you think he could fit in his team? Because I guess he would want to start, and I think he does deserve to start. But I guess Ben White and Gabriel have built such a great partnership. Do you kind of see Saliba in this team?
I don't see Saliba in the first team unless we play a back three next season, if I'm honest. And the reason I say that is not because it's my thoughts, it's because that's what Mikel Arteta will decide. I don't think he wants to split Ben White and Gabriel up. Otherwise, William Saliba would be playing ahead of Ben White right now. I think William Saliba's been immense in France, not just for St Etienne when we signed him, but brilliant for Nice, brilliant for Marseille. And I do also believe that getting into the team of the year and player of the months and some of the stats have been crazy. People might look at that and think, well, it's the French league, it's easy. But if it was the French league he's playing for PSG, I might say, yeah, fair play. But he's not surrounded by unbelievable talent, William Saliba. Matteo Guendouzi is one of them, who's also had another great season, by the way. He's got no doubt that he's got talent. There's obviously some attitude problems there that Mikel Arteta couldn't iron out and didn't want to give him time for. I'm hoping William Saliba it's different because I do see a talented centre-back. For me, Gabriel's our best centre-half. Ben White, I think he's decent, but the jury's still out in how he can take us forward. And I believe Saliba could rival him for a position next season. Whether William Saliba wants that or not is a different question. If he does want first team football, I don't see him playing for Arsenal next season because I believe that he's good enough to play first team football right now. And if Arteta doesn't, then that could be an issue. Having said that, Soph, I do believe he's a great squad player to have around because we're going to have 3 centre-backs plus Holding who are going to be all good enough to come in and do a job. I'm not so sure that he wants to play 3 at the back, Mikel Arteta. I think he wants to play this 4-3-3. And I think if we were going to go 3 at the back, then it might be that we are very defensive with Saliba, Ben White, Gabriel, Tierney and Tomiyasu that, let's be honest, can all play centre-backs. So I do believe that that is an option against some teams and it might be quite good against Cities and Liverpools. But I'm not so sure that Mikel Arteta wants to play that every game. So it could be interesting to see where his future lies, but I hope it is in an Arsenal shirt.
Yeah, I agree. I think Saliba definitely does deserve to be a starter, but I know I kind of see you can't drop Ben White or Gabriel unless you go in the back 3. But yeah, I do. I'm not. I mean, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, so I don't really like to judge or anything. But I do believe that he has maybe treated them fairly. I know that Saliba went through a lot with his parents, but I just do believe that someone as good as him deserves that chance. Now, I just wanted to end on this positive question. I wanted to get your thoughts on maybe your out of all the signings we've made in the summer, who has been your favourite and who's impressed you the most?
Yeah, it's a good question because, like I said, I was quite impressed with the recruitment, to be honest. I suppose I should go with Martin Odegaard because I like players who prove me wrong, but I'm not going to go with him. I'm going to go with Tomiyasu because I didn't know anything about this lad. I knew about Ramsdale, I knew about Odegaard, I knew about Ben White. But when you don't know about players, sometimes it can be a surprise. And that to me has been the surprise signing of the season, but also one of the best. I think if he would have stayed fit the last few weeks, obviously he's been out, I think he would have been our player of the season. I think he's been consistent. I think he's shown that aerially he's better than anybody in the team. Positionally he's great. He's disciplined. He understands how to defend. And he's technically good to go forward when he needs to. I think what he does also is improve the players ahead of him and around him. Saka's been much better for me. And likewise, Martinelli played well against Leeds because he had somebody behind him who's disciplined. And there's a lot to say for that. So for me, I'd go for Tomiyasu. Doesn't take anything away from Ramsdale, I think was outstanding, particularly in the first half of the season, and Odegaard, particularly in the second half of the season. But for me, I think consistency-wise, every time I think Tomiyasu's played, he's been brilliant. So I've got to go with Tommy.
Yeah, I agree. I think I can't remember last time we had a right back as good as Tomiyasu. I think he's probably called Mr. Consistent because I think every time he plays, he just does everything he can to help his team win. And I think all the signings have helped. I think Ramsdale, I think he's been brilliant. And I think what I love about this team is the togetherness. I mean, you've been to a few matches this season. Fortunately, I haven't. But what can you tell people maybe that are watching this, what the atmosphere has been like there?
The atmosphere home and away, so has been electric. Now, away days are always great. The fans are always fantastic. But sometimes at home, we've been guilty over the years of being a little bit of a silent library at times, particularly in the early years of the Emirates and certainly towards the kind of later years of Wenger. We were quite quiet because of what was happening on the pitch. But I don't remember a season, and maybe COVID's helped this and people have missed it more. But I don't remember a season where it's been electric home and away at most games. Even when we've lost, even when we've drew and been disappointed, we've done our best to get behind the boys. And I do believe that when we've seen that connect with the fan base, a lot of it has to do with what we're seeing on the pitch from the players. Not in terms of performances, from their actual attitude. The amount of times I used to be at the Emirates or away from home and they used to just walk down the tunnel afterwards and not even clap us. Every single player stays out and enjoys it. Every single player is bought into this. I think the manager has a lot of praise to be given for that because I think he's brought in and installed something that perhaps wasn't there before. And I do believe that the right players have come in that have all bought into that and have had that similar mentality and the right philosophy of where we're going. And they do appreciate the fan base and the support. And I think there's the difference. When I look at what the team are doing when they come out on the tunnel, every single player I pretty much bought into. There's only a couple still that I look at and think, not my favourite, but you know what? You're playing well, you're professional, and I let you get on with it. But I'm looking at Kieran Tierney, Tommy Yasu, Ben White, Gabriel, Ramsdale, Partey, Erdegaard, Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli. I'm loving them all. I think, you know what? You've got futures at this club because you've got the right attitude, you're young and you're hungry. And although I've been unconvinced at times by the management, I haven't been unconvinced by the quality level of some of these players because they definitely do have it. And if we can keep this bunch together, and if the manager isn't right in the next couple of years and we get them gone, that's fine by me. But actually, let's not get rid of this team because it looks to me as if they're all on the same wavelength. And just with a few additions, with some experienced heads and some leaders in there, I do believe that we have a good enough side to be excited about our future 100%.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the togetherness of the team and the fans, like, it's just so lovely. I think it's nice that that the players appreciate the fans because I guess under Arteta last season it was a bit like this, but it just kind of felt like they weren't really playing for the badge or they just didn't care. I know we did go through a lot of difficult moments, the Europa League semi-final, just all of those. So it is definitely nice to know that the players appreciate us and we appreciate them. But Dan, thank you so much for coming on my channel.
Listen, it's been lovely to talk to you. Lovely to have a chat about what things are going on at Arsenal. And something I do kind of miss at the moment is because I'm a host a lot of the times. I don't always get to do this, so it's nice to come on the channel and have a chat with you about the Arsenal. And let's hope that we get the result that we need and we can secure that Champions League spot. So, but it's a pleasure to come on, man. Thanks for inviting me.
No, it's lovely having you on. Do you want to tell the people where they can find you if they want to follow you on social media?
Oh, sure. Bless. Well, listen, first of all, everyone like and subscribe to this channel because that's obviously important. And secondly, if you do want to follow myself, you can on socials at DanArsenal87. And if you do want to follow more of my content, I'm on AFTV regularly and also on Lee Judges TV because me and Lee are close and we run a channel together. So we're doing a lot of shows at the moment and a lot of content around Arsenal. So come and join us.
Oh, Dan, thank you so much. Remember to subscribe to Leeds TV and they do great content. So, Dan, we'll have to do this again soon because I really enjoyed it.
Of course. We'll have to get you on as well, so return the favour. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Dan. Take care.
You too, darling.